Hello everybody and welcome to another unboxing video. I am here with Knights vs. Dragons, which is a brand new product from Wizards, and they sent me one. It's really cool, and when they send me stuff I like to open it for you because it's fun to see stuff, you know, just sort of what it's made of. So with this we have our basic packaging here, coming open. We have our two decks. We have our foils, which is our Knight of the Reliquary and our Bogard Hellkite, which are super shiny. Shining in the light very nicely. Now this Knight of the Reliquary, probably worth some money, which is nice as well. Here we have both our decks, which are sleeved, or I'm sorry, which are packaged separately. Over here we have a deck box. We have the deck box for dragons, which is right here. And this, you know, you sort of assemble it yourself. And on the back here, it's got Knights vs. Dragon dual decks, and it's got the symbol and all that cool stuff. Over here we have the Knights version, which is has green white up here up top, picture Knight of the Reliquary, got the symbol and so on and so forth. You sort of build that yourself. And here we have what appears to be the dragon deck. Let's take a look at it. Starts off with the goblin token, which you will need for your dragon fodders. And see if I can get you a good angle here. So we'll start here with the goblin. There's a caravan escort, a Lionheart Maverick, or two. There are two Knight of Cliff Havens. There's a Knight of Meadowgrain, which is nice. Here's one of your rares, which is Knight of the White Orchid. There's Leon and Sky Hunter. You have a Silver Knight. That's with brand new art, as it were. Here's White Knight. Here's a Knotvine Paladin. That's another one of your rares, which is really cool. From Alar Reborn. There's a Steward of Valoron. There is a Vanalish Lancer. Man, this guy is old school. Zalfrin Commander, speaking of Mirage rares, this is one of your uncommons. I believe it was rare back then. Knight Exemplar, which is from M11, which is now one of your rares, which makes your Knights indestructible. Here's Wiltleaf Cavaliers. There's a Kabira Vindicator, a Kinsbell Cavalier, which gives all your guys double strike. That's another one of your rares. That guy's really sweet. Here's an Alaborn Cavalier. Probably mispronouncing that. Sky Hunter Patrol. Got a Plover Knights. Here's a Juniper Order Ranger. This guy's super duper fun. When other creatures in the battlefield, you start putting +1/+1 counters everywhere, and it's really great. Here's a Paladin of Prov. There's a Harm's Way, a Reciprocate. There's an Edge of Autumn. This card's really cool. There's a Mighty Leap. Here's a Reprisal with new art. Look at him. Check it out. He's holding up the dragon's head. It's crazy. Here's Test of Faith, which is nice. Uncommon Heroes Reunion. Here's a Sigil Blessing, again, from Shard's Block. Here is your new art Loxodon Warhammer, which looks really cool. Brand new art on that one. Here's Spider Silk Armor, which is an old school reprint, as I understand it. Griffin Guide. Here is new art on the Oblivion Ring. This is, I believe, was the FNM art for Oblivion Ring. We have a couple Grasslands, which is nice. Here's a Sajiri Step. There's a Celestia Sanctuary or two, which are nice to find with the Knight of the Reliquary. And there's a Treetop Village. Now, one of the ways you can get really clever with Knight of the Reliquary is to use Knight of the Reliquary to sacrifice, and then go get the Celestia Sanctuary, which you can then bounce the Treetop Village and save it from being, you know, lightning bolted or killed or what have you if somebody did something crazy to it, which is kind of neat. And here you have all of your basic lands. Oh, cool. You got some really nice art on here. Check out the artwork on the forest is really sweet. So that is our Knights deck. Let's check out the Dragon deck. Alright, proper angle again. Here's our Cinder Wall. There's a Skirk Prospector. There's a Bloodmark Mentor. Firebelly Changeling. There are two Mud Button Torch Runners. There's one Dragon Speaker Shaman, which makes all your dragons cheaper. There's a couple Dragon Whelps, almost a dragon, little tiny dragon. There's a Hinge Guardian, who is now a Dragon Worm officially. There's a Voracious Dragon, who is great at sacrificing those Mud Button Torch Runners. There's a Bogard Rager, directly from Time Spiral. There's a Mordant Dragon, which was printed recently. Here's a Kilnmouth Dragon, which has Amplify, which is another old school ability, hasn't been seen in many years. That's fun. So here's a Shivan Hellkite, which deals damage to creatures and players. Here's a Thunder Dragon that deals 3 damage to all creatures without flying when it enters the battlefield, which is a huge sweeper effect. There's a couple Armillary Spheres, which will give you the mana to cast your dragons. There's a Dragon's Claw. There's a Breath of Darigaz, old school reprint. Here's a couple Dragon Fodders because, you know, they need to be fed to the voracious dragons. Here's Punishing Fire with brand new artwork, as you can see. If it would focus for me. Focus. There you go. Okay, it's trying. So there's the new Punishing Fire artwork, which is cool. Here's Spitting Earth. Here's a Captive Flame. Here is Ghost Fire reprinted, and check out the new frame. It looks really interesting. Like it did have the again, we're gonna have this thing focus for me. Again, it did have the Future Sight frame, and this is the first time it's been reprinted in the actual modern frame, and it looks really interesting. It's sort of, you know, Eldrazi-esque, as it is a colorless spell. Here is the new Seeding Song, and focus. Here's the new Seeding Song, and you can see it with the brand new artwork, which I think is really sweet. That wizard getting like destroyed by that dragon, but not really. And in the flavor text, it explains if you can withstand dragon fire. It's really cool. Here is Seismic Strike. We have Claws of Valakut. Here's Temporary Insanity, which is a old school card, old school reprint. Shiv's Embrace, which sort of makes your dragons very dragon-like, gives them fire-breathing things. Cone of Flame, which is I'm sure a big blowout versus the Knight's deck, which is nice. Fiery Fall, which both destroys creatures and or fixes your mana as necessary. Jaws of Stone, which rewards you for playing only mountains. And then we have our mountains. And so you got plenty of those. And then one more Goblin token to round it out. So, lastly, we have a couple of inserts. The first insert is the standard, I believe, Learn to Play insert, which you will see here, which has a nice spread of the walkers, how you play, who are the walkers and why do they matter, things of that nature. Over here we have, you know, the parts of a Magic card and getting started and phases and how all that stuff works, which I'm sure you're well aware of. And if you're not, well, here is this thing for you, which shows you how to play. Lastly is our Knights and Dragons fold-out insert, which is really nice. Has, I believe, one side for each faction. So here we have essentially the dragon side, and it tells you right here how to play the dragon's deck. And what the dragons lack in speed, they make up for with overwhelming force and destruction. So on the other half, you have the Knight's deck, which says how to play the Knight's deck. Well, they lack in size, but they make up in efficiency and teamwork. So the more that you have of them, the more you can sort of bash with them. And down here it talks a little bit about your tokens. It has the entire deck list, and it also has where these cards come from, which is kind of cool. It shows you the Knight of Metagrams from Lorwyn and White Orchid is from Shards of Alara, and so on and so forth on down, which is nice. So that is the Knights vs. Dragon deck. I appreciate you watching me open this thing. It was super fun to open, and now it's time to play.